Let's say that you have a subscription for some TV program, and one day you want to stop your subscription and you call them. What will they do? They'll do their best to identify you, to make sure it's you on the line. They'll ask you your date of birth, your postal codes, or they'll ask some question to identify, this is really the one on the line. If you're calling a bank or you're calling an insurance company or whatever organization, they need to be certain it's you on the phone and not some creep pretending to be you. And it's logical, because you don't want to change things in someone's account while it wasn't an individual calling, while it was someone else. So when you are dealing with an organization or with an institution and you're calling them, they'll do the best to identify you. Why is it then that when it comes to the spiritual, many believers are so naive? If you call an insurance company because you want to change something in your data, if they ask you a question to identify you and you gave the wrong answer, let's say they ask you where were you born, and you mention a name where you were born, but it's not the name they have written in their system, they'll hang up the phone and they'll call you back. Even if they can hear it's you, they need to be certain it's you. There's certain things about you that you know automatically. So based on their reasoning is, if you can't answer that question, it's not you. They call back. When it comes to believers, not with believers in general, we tend to hold on to myths that pagan Christianity taught us. Some of those myths are easily disproven with scripture, others are a bit harder. Just realize that anytime you believe in something that's not in line with Christ, you have an open door where demons can pretend to be that thing you believe in to trick you. Let's say, for example, that your grandmother passed away and you had a good bond with your grandmother. And you encounter this fortune teller that tells you that during a seance they can call up your deceased grandmother and you can communicate with your deceased grandmother. You can just go to scripture in the book of Ecclesiastes that says that the dead have no consciousness. You can also look at the words of Christ that make plain that once a human being passes away, they are in Sheol until the resurrection. It's at the resurrection will be active again in immortal bodies. So then you already know, okay, so what this fortune teller is offering me is not genuine, because even if the fortune teller is sincere, she may be sincere, or he may be sincere, but they are deceived. Why? Because it's proven with the word that when the body of human passes away, that they're not active until Christ returns. But don't you know that there are believers that believe that once an individual passes away, that they remain active without a human body? And they think that grandma or grandpa is watching over them, or in the black community you have this belief in the ancestors. Listen, and I will say it very firmly to you now. When the body of a human being expires, that human being has passed away. They still exist, but they don't exist in that body anymore. That body will decompose, will decay, it will perish, and when Christ returns, will be resurrected in a new body. From the moment they left their first body and the moment Christ resurrects them in their permanent body, between those two moments, they're not active. So, your deceased grandmother, your deceased parents, or your ancestors cannot watch over you. They cannot communicate with you. They can't be active with you. If you have entities communicating with you, and you think those are your ancestors, those are not your ancestors. Those are familiar spirits, or better said, demonic spirits that have been stalking you, and they know things about you. That's why they're so good in pretending, or better said, in faking to be your deceased loved ones. I shouldn't have to make this video talking about this, but it's something that's still going on amongst believers. The whole idea of going to heaven the moment you leave the body, that is not biblical. Everyone goes to Sheol and the resurrection when Christ returns, and believers will be caught up in the sky for a moment till the earth is renewed, they will be on the earth forever with Christ. Heaven is not our home, it never will be. The moment you believe that once a good individual passes away, that they are in the heavens, that means they are active. Because there's only activity in the heavens. And the moment you think they are in heaven, that means that there's an option for them to be active on your behalf. They can't. They cannot. Because they're not active. I just watched a movie today. I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm just going to say this about the movie. You had this guy, together with this girl, they were working on some technology in which he wanted to be able to charge devices wirelessly. But they ended up doing something else. They ended up opening portals to the spirit world. First, the guy thought, oh, my parents are still around. He had a younger sister who spoke to her parents every night. But one of the neighbors also began to see his deceased wife who committed suicide. But after a while, when things got out of hand, that this guy who built this machine realized, hold on a minute. These are not our parents. And that girl, I'm not sure whether it was his girlfriend or not, but anyway, that girl he was working with on this machine even asking, how are you sure it's your parents you're talking to? And when that happened in the movie, the guy was quiet for a few seconds. And he brushed it off. Because he never considered, okay, this machine enables us to experience the spirit world, but why did I make the assumption that the spirits are manifesting on my parents? And it ended up not being their parents, but foul, murderous demonic entities. And that movie is a pagan movie. Okay? There's no reference to Christ whatsoever in it. But even the pagans that made that movie make it plain. Don't think that you can ever communicate with people that passed away. You can't. If you do have contact with spirit beings that claim to be ancestors, it's evil spirits. So, I want to point that out. Do not believe that when coincidences happen in your life, first of all, a coincidence does not really exist. It's a synchronicity. When spirit beings work on circumstances to collide with other circumstances, when you have a collision of circumstances, don't think it's your ancestors that are watching over you. No, those are demonic spirits that are leading you astray to snatch your soul away from you. That is what's going on. Now let me give another example of an erroneous belief that a lot of believers have. And that is the belief that they owe allegiance to the civil authorities on the earth. The civil authorities on the earth, they belong to the world. And the world does not follow Christ. The world does not follow Christ. The world adheres to demonic spirits. So, how can believers think that Christ expects us to be loyal to the civil authorities down here? Now, we listen to civil authorities like the police or the firefighters or the local municipality or the government for practical reasons, just to get along with other people, but we do not pledge any loyalty nor allegiance to them. Our allegiance is to Christ alone. To Him alone. The moment you pledge allegiance to the civil authorities, you are in bondage. Now, because you are serving two masters, which is not possible for you, now you're burdened, now you're exhausted, now you're shut down, now you are undermined. Because the thing you're loyal to, that will overrule you. So if you're loyal to something that's not from God, that thing that's not from God will have a hold on you, and it will undermine you in doing God's will. So you may have people that are in financial troubles, and they're praying for a solution. And the solution may come, but because they don't recognize the solution, they think that the prayers are not answered. For example, it can be that you have a couple, they live somewhere with their children, and they are praying to be delivered from those financial difficulties. And one day, the bank where they have their loan has financial issues. And now they're worried, thinking, oh, if the bank goes down, how are we going to pay our mortgage? How are we going to do that? But then, one individual tells them, hold on a minute. If the bank goes bankrupt, or if the bank has financial difficulties, this is a time for you to get rid of that debt that you have with the bank. You can take advantage of this situation. But what happened to the couple is that, no, we have to pay our mortgage, we have to do this and that. And the other individual was not even a believer, was thinking, what? This couple has a delay in payment for their mortgage. They may even be moved out of their own house. And now, due to some issues at the bank is not able to deal with the debt at this moment. And this gives them an opportunity to work around the system to get rid of the debt. And now, instead of seeing the opportunity for what it is, they see it as their duty to help save the bank, that same bank that's willing to kick them out. When you have your allegiance to something that's not Christ-centered, worldly people, demons, and predators will use that thing that you're loyal to, that you have your allegiance to, that's not in line with Christ, to control you. So whether you believing that the dead can speak to you, or is you believing that you're obliged to have your allegiance to the civil authorities down here, anytime you have a belief that's not in line with Christ, that belief will be fatal to you. So make sure you are in line with Christ. Be at peace.